Welcome to today's evening news wrap up. Before we dive into the top stories making headlines, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. Has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Outgoing FBI Director Christopher Wray warned that China has infiltrated American critical infrastructure with malware, posing a significant threat. He described the Chinese government as the largest long term threat due to its state funded cyber program targeting essential systems like water treatment plants and the electrical grid. Ray emphasized that China has been pre-positioned on American networks to potentially cause real world harm. My question to that is why now he's coming out and saying this. This has been happening. Starbucks has reversed its policy of allowing the general public to use store bathrooms without making a purchase due to safety concerns and widespread drug use. The new policy includes prohibiting harassment, violence, threatening language outside, alcohol, smoking, and panhandling in its stores. This change is part of CEO Brian Nichols' strategy to improve the struggling coffee chain. And it's definitely the MAGA effect there. In Charlotte, Pennsylvania, health officials are closely monitoring a tuberculosis outbreak, which has been linked to an influx of Haitian immigrants. The House GOP is advancing legislation to give President Trump the authority to negotiate the purchase of Greenland from Denmark. The bill, led by Rep. Andy Ogles, uh, aimed to allow Trump to enter negotiations for Greenland, emphasizing its strategic importance to the U.S. and its potential economic benefits. India has announced that it expects no disruption to its Russian oil supply until March. In Washington, House Republicans are weighing a massive $5.7 trillion in spending cuts to fund former President Trump's domestic agenda. Victor Davis Hanson has penned an article comparing California's current state to Dresden, criticizing the state's DEI and green policies. In other news, President Joe Biden has been criticized for his final foreign policy speech, with some calling it delusional. FBI Director Wray has defended the raid on Mar-a-Lago. The Associated Press has come under fire for its coverage of the California wildfires. Special Counsel David Weiss criticized President Joe Biden in his final report on Hunter Biden, particularly for pardoning his son. Weiss argued that Biden's pardon undermined the integrity of the Department of Justice and suggested that President's statements were politically motivated. Florida's political landscape is heating up as Republican leaders clash over support for Trump and DeSantis. Governor DeSantis has called for a special legislative session to back Trump's immigration agenda, but faces resistance from both Democrats and some Republicans. Despite the pushback, DeSantis remains committed to moving forward with the session. Los Angeles Fire Chief Kristen Crowley warned city officials about the need for more firefighters months before the deadly blazes. A man dressed as a firefighter has been arrested for burglarizing a home in Malibu. California Governor Gavin Newsom is facing intense criticism for his handling of the state's wildfire crisis. Despite his claims of prioritizing wildfire prevention, Newsom's actions, such as cutting the fire budget and misrepresenting the extent of fuel reduction projects, have led to widespread dissatisfaction among Californians. His political future is now uncertain as he struggles to address the ongoing disaster. Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays has vowed to continue legal action initiated by Jack Smith. They just won't quit. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's flight to Washington, D.C. was rerouted due to unauthorized drone activity over the White House. This incident occurred just before President Trump's inauguration, raising security concerns. Authorities, including the FBI and Secret Service, have implemented extensive security measures to ensure the safety of the event. A judge has ordered the closure of an apartment complex in Aurora, the one I covered in Aurora, Colorado, after armed members of a Venezuelan gang were caught on video entering a unit last summer. The city claimed the crime situation has reached a breaking point, and the police chief highlighted the danger posed by the complex. The city is working to provide relocation assistance to residents in the affected apartments. Funny how this happened after the election. Mel Gibson, in a conversation with Joe Rogan, condemned abortion, likening it to human sacrifice. He argued that societal values today are not far from those of ancient civilizations, and emphasized the ongoing cultural and moral decline. Despite some pushback, Gibson maintained that abortion remains a prevalent form of human sacrifice in our modern society, and I definitely agree with that. Ellen DeGeneres, who vowed to leave the U.S. as after Donald Trump's 2024 election win, was recently spotted in Montecito, California. Despite moving to England, she returned to visit an elite retirement community. House Speaker Mike Johnson has suggested that federal aid for recent wildfires in Los Angeles should come with policy conditions, citing alleged failures by state and local leaders in managing resources. The wildfires, which began on January 7th, have affected 40,000 acres and resulted in at least 24 deaths. Johnson and other Republicans have criticized California leadership for mismanagement and called for conditions on disaster relief funding. Absolutely, there should be some conditions, because we see what they do with things. They just tend to throw money at things. Look what they did with the homeless crisis that they haven't solved and just threw billions of dollars at it. And finally, in the world of finance, the Heritage Foundation has launched an ad campaign supporting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for HHS Secretary. Medal of Honor recipient David Bellavia and has defended Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth. And that's all for the news wrap up for tonight. Stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.